Hey everybody, and welcome to the Artists Forum. I'm Scottie Gage. Today we're at Dandy Studios on West 38th Street. We're going to be talking to choreographer Matthew Westerby, who's artistic director for Matthew Westerby Dance Company, a modern dance company based here in New York City.
My name is Matthew Westerby. I'm artistic director, choreographer for Matthew Westerby Company. I'm originally from England. I moved to New York 7 years ago, partly for a relationship, but also because it's the dance capital of the world, so I figured this is where I had to be professionally. I've danced since I was 2, maybe 3 years old, I'm not quite sure. And since then I trained in tap and jazz and Broadway and all those kind of stuff. I went to school for modern dance, and since then I worked for companies in the UK before I moved to New York, and since then I've worked for between like 10 and 12 different companies here before I decided to pursue my own work. I decided to make the move from performing for other companies to pursuing my own work. Really for a variety of reasons, partly because I felt like it was the right time for me to pursue having my own artistic voice, and also just I feel like there comes a point in every dancer's life when you can't dance full-time anymore. You have to pursue other things. For some people it's teaching, for me it was choreographing. My inspirations as a choreographer, I would say, come from a whole host of really from personal experience. That's really where I draw a lot of things from. One piece that we worked on last fall was based on OCD and the experiences people have suffering from OCD. It's partly autobiographical in that I see traces of that in myself, but it really was an exploration as to what OCD encompasses and how we can reflect that in a dance piece. The mission of our company really is to bring dance to as many people as possible, whether that's dancers or non-dancers, and be that through professional performance or through dance and education work. It's really about branching out and bringing dance to people that might not experience it. Education is a big factor in our mission. It's really about bringing dance focused really on youth and teenagers, and having them experience dance, but through their own creativity. So it's not just us going and teaching them how to dance, it's really about using their creative ideas and their impulses and just helping them to form that, and giving them a sense of independence and creative energy. Really, so far, our biggest project has been in Connecticut. We've been working with Litchfield Performing Arts to deliver a project called Project Poetry Live. This is our 3rd season of doing it now, and it's a widely encompassing project. So it involves music and dance and poetry, and it's really about inspiring the kids and showing them that you can make dance from other art forms can influence the making of dance. So for them, it's about writing poems and then seeing those transferred into choreography. My process as a choreographer, really, it involves a lot of things. It's a lot of research time before we'll start making a piece, and really choosing what am I inspired by, what do I want to pursue now, and I try to make things I try to create a diverse repertoire for the company. So we do have a lot of work that will seem very different in style and content. In terms of the process, after the research period, it will be working in the studio with the dancers, and really creating movement phrases. And the movement phrases for me are like the building blocks of the work. Once we have those movement phrases, we can go to many places with those. So a simple unison phrase that all of the dancers have learned or created can then be the basis for a 15-20 minute work. What makes me unique, I think, in the New York dance world is a sense of structure. I feel like I'm quite traditional in the way that I structure work, but the movement content is innovative and it's very different and virtuosic. I like to think as a choreographer musically that I do have a certain sense of musicality that is very strong in my work, and it is quite striking. But at the same time, we're not making the kind of work that you can count, in here's 4 counts of 8. That's not generally how we work. I think in some ways it's really it's a collaboration between me and the music that I'm using. So we see where things sit on the music, and then we'll just rehearse and rehearse and rehearse till the point where the movement is consistent. We hit the same points in the music, but then what happens between those points can be fluid, and really that fluidity is where work can become way more interesting than you could ever imagine by setting it strictly to the music. Artistically, I'd say my goals short term is really to get the work out and seen by as many people as possible, and to begin to bring in finance to be able to sustain a company of 8 dancers and education programming. Long term, I guess we really hope to establish ourselves on the dance scene and it's not about looking for critical acclaim. It's really about being given the time and the space and the funding to be able to create work, and to be able to bring dance to diverse and new audience. I would say if you're going to pursue it 200%. Like there's no way to do this half-heartedly. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not for the money. It's not for like the lifelong knowing that you're going to have some kind of financial backing. It really is for the love and for the passion of making dance. And yeah, if you're going to pursue it wholeheartedly, always. In order to make this a viable venture as a dance-making group, but also as a business, we really do need that funding and the support from, either from foundations or from government grants or from private donations, just to be able to fund, things like as simple as hiring a rehearsal studio, but then also being able to pay the dancers for what they're worth, which is difficult, especially in these times. As a choreographer, I like to work in the same spaces regularly, so we try not to jump around too much. But sometimes, during busy times of the year, then it's difficult to find space. At the moment, we are working exclusively at Danny Studios. We've been to Mark Morris Studios in Brooklyn. Covenant Ballet Theatre of Brooklyn have donated space to us in the past, which is obviously very useful because it's free. But again, it's good as an artist to be in the same space. So it's a familiar space, it's a safe place to be making work. Matthew Westerby Company is currently preparing for our New York season. It's the first time we've really set about self-producing a show in the city, where it's strictly my own work. We're showing 5 pieces at University Settlement, April 15th and 16th. You can reach Matthew Westerby Company either by visiting our website. It's www.matthewwesterbycompany.com, and you can find all of our information right there. Matthew Westerby Company has a Facebook page, so please become a fan.
The Artists Forum. Get connected. Be heard. The Artists Forum is a place where artists of all disciplines can network, collaborate, and exchange information and ideas. You want to know when to catch us? Well, then log on to tvguide.com's local listing section. You can also see us live on the web via Channel 57's mnn.org. On the Artists Forum, you'll see interviews with New York City's emerging talents in theater, dance, and visual arts, as well as the written word. We'll jump the velvet rope to get interviews with the entertainment industry's top insiders as well as some of its underground talents. Expose yourself to the Artists Forum, show us your work, invite us to your performance. Do you have questions about the business? Do you need help better focusing your career? Or maybe you just want to post information about an upcoming project? Well, log on to our website, theartistsforum.org. The Artists Forum, on the pulse of community activities and events. I'm Shalita Burchett, and I'll see you on the Artists Forum.
Our next segment features choreographer Mariana Bekerman, artistic director of Mariana Bekerman Dance Company.
I'm choreographer Mariana Bekerman. Although I was born in Russia, I am truly a New Yorker. In 1979, my family and I arrived to Flushing, Queens. Growing up, my father was always and still is an art collector. I've always been influenced by Russian art, and obviously my background and my warm and loving family has always been an influence in my work. Combining that with my dancing and the whole underground culture that I was partaking in high school, I was totally open to explore my own voice. In the early 90s, well, this was way before me actually, but I got exposed to it in the early 90s as a teenager. Vogue dance was a very popular culture within the gay community. Being a LaGuardia student, lots of my friends happened to have been gay, and I was obviously exposed to this whole club scene, such as Sound Factory, The Tunnel, Limelight, and I remember going to the clubs, no matter if it was winter, spring, summer, fall, earthquake, raining, snowstorm, it didn't matter. I was there, perched, and I made lots of friends who exposed me into this whole other scene, which was, you know, the balls. And I would participate and battle and win trophies. And while I was training at LaGuardia and at NYU during the day, I would go out and, you know, dance at night in the clubs. And that's where I truly found my voice. I tied in between the classical, and I would use my classical training. You know, you could see that this dancer had technique as opposed to this dancer. But yet I was also always looking for this other, you know, vocabulary that was my own, and that's where it was found. I didn't know I was being a choreographer at the time. I was battling, I was having fun, I was carrying. But it turned out that I took and brought it into the studio now, and I set it on my dancers with the modern. I always pay homage to the clubs because that's where I found my own taste, my own sense of self. It's a good memory. I like to talk about it because here I am, and here I am doing all this great choreography, and I'm remembering where it really all initiated. It initiated in the ball. I would compete, and that's where I got my boom. You know, I had to go out there and expose myself and sell myself, and here I'm doing it in another way. So it was, you know, it was really about shaping your personality. I didn't really know that I was going to have a dance company necessarily. I didn't really know I was a choreographer until college. I was always curious, I was always questioning, I was always interested. I always had thoughts and ideas, I would jot them down. I still do that, and that is where, you know, my work comes from. I'm always interested in heavy conversation, reading, knowledge. I just find that receiving education and being able to question and being able to allow yourself to be curious helps in shaping you as a choreographer and or a dancer. When it comes to my choreography, my process is spontaneous. It could be I could be walking down the street and an idea pops up, and I'll say, if I'm next to somebody, can I have a paper and a pen? I could jot some idea down. If I'm watching TV and I'm watching a good program, same story. I have some idea, I have to write it down. Commercials are really great. Commercials are really great to get ideas. And the news and what's going on in the world, emotions, feelings, discussions. These are all influences that I use for my dances. My dances may or may not have a meaning to you, or they may have a different meaning to you than it's to me, but that's fine, but they do have a meaning. And they all stem from someplace. For instance, in Shameless, there's a dance called Runaway Train. That's from an old dream. I had that dream when I was about 4, 5. I never forgot that dream. And the fact that that dream kept spooking me almost I decided I should put it in my dance, in my work. And it's a simple story about just something coming close and close, strangers approaching you. And I remember just like the sensation of people coming closer and closer towards you. And that's what that whole dance is about, of that sensation. So there went a whole dance. Another dance I've done in the past, I produced a show called Pile Driver, and I was just in the car with my father, and we were chatting, and we were driving by a construction site, and there was an actual pile driver driving. And I turned my head, and it was music to me. You know, it was like, it was like this pounding beat, and I was like, and I saw a dance, and a whole dance in front of it. I didn't see the actual dance, but I got inspired, and I actually did have a pile driver in front of my dancers. I had to do that. It was something I had to do because I thought it would be fun. So my process is my life. You know, I live, and as long as I'm alive, I will have a process. In terms of the actual space, rehearsal and work in my studio, my dancers hate me because I don't remember my choreography, ever. I come in, and for rehearsal, I will know this is the section I want to work on today. This section, I may know the mood, or I may know the tempo. I know this will be fast, or it'll be scary, or spooky, or whatever. That's what I work with. You know, I create on the spot. I don't spend a half an hour or an hour or two creating movement and phrases and then teaching it to my dancers, because I need their energy, and together with their energy, I come up with movement. I like to use composition, a composer who will work with me when I'm producing a show. Currently, we're working with several composers, which is exciting. Depends on what I'm doing. Depends what I'm trying to say. Music is very important. I don't first find the music and then the dance, necessarily. Sometimes maybe. It could be anything. It could be anything. I can go from no music to classical music to house music to rock music. You know, I love the world. I love world music. I'm open to anything that's going to say what I want it to say. Love, hate. Currently, we're working on a piece that's really dealing with negativity and evil eye. A lot of psychological, philosophical, spiritual themes. Passion. I did a whole dance called Water Boy, and it was just based on sperm. You know, I'm pretty spontaneous and as a person, so my themes therefore as well seem to be working with that spontaneity. When people watch my performances, productions in particular, because I mean we do showings and then we do full-out productions. Either way, whether we're on stage for 10 minutes or we're on stage for over an hour, when you watch my work and the company, I want you to feel something. I don't care what you're feeling, but I want you to feel something. You know, I need a reaction. You know, sometimes you watch a show and you're just blank. If I see blank faces in my audience, I failed. Sustaining the career of dance, you know, is not easy because there's very little money in it, if any, and depending on what field, what avenue you decide to go into when talking and dealing with dance. But for instance, modern dance, you know, you're writing grants and you're relying on grants and more grants, and that's how you keep growing. But if you don't get it, you still do it because it's something you have to do. as a choreographer. As a dancer, I can imagine the frustration that lies for you as a dancer. You come in to rehearse, you have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, and you're rehearsing and you're rehearsing for this big culminating major production, and it is a wonderful reward. You get great satisfaction. But in the meantime, you go through this whole process, what am I doing with my life? Because I'm putting all my heart, all my soul, all my energy, all my guts. And it really, that's what I look for. That's what I like. I like to have people's guts when they're dancing. And it's not easy for a dancer either. In terms of finding dancers, as I mentioned earlier, I think technique is definitely number one. That's a given. I need dancers with technique. But most importantly, I look for dancers who can say something all on their own and have charisma, have charm, have personality, have a sense of humor. You need to have a sense of humor because, we rehearse at night and we're all tired and we all have our own issues, our own lives. We work 2 nights a week, so all the other 5 days of the week we're apart. Our lives are happening. So for me, it's important to get bodies that speak to me, bodies that communicate to me, to the audience, people who are comfortable with themselves, are aware of who they are, why they're here, and it's important that they like the work. Running a dance company is 90% administration, 10% creation. It's very hard to have a dance company with a very small budget to no budget. Whatever money comes in is never enough, and that money goes for production, including paying the dancers for the production. Money. We need funds. We are one of the many different companies, thousands of dance companies here in New York that need funding, unfortunately. Or free space, or free costumes, or free this or free that. And thanks, there's wonderful organizations that help us, such as Material for the Arts, The Field, Fractured Atlas. There's Dance Theater Workshop. There's definitely great resources out there. And that is why every dance company is in New York. The emerging dance companies. And in one way, it's wonderful because we do have each other here to network for those of us who have time. Because, I'm not available to be at the meetings all the time. I'm not available to schmooze at the parties all the time. But it is wonderful to know it's out there, okay? But yeah, it's, again, the more companies, the more competition, the harder it is to get. Networking is always important, and it is really who you know a lot of the time. And that creates a factor, another issue, because if you're working or you're rehearsing, you have little time to network. Our mission is to support modern dance and modern art, and to expose it to all walks of life. Also trying to avoid the gloom, doom, this is what I use a lot in my grant writing, the gloom, doom, and angst of concert dance. My ultimate desire is to have a full-time, salaried dance company. First and foremost, starting a dance company is honestly saying, I want to have a baby. It is having a child, and it's something that requires nurture, care, rest. So my advice is make sure that you know you want to do this. It's wonderful to create a dance. It's wonderful to create 2 dances. But be clear with what you're doing. Do you want to make a dance, or do you want to have a company? I chose to have a company because I want to make dances. I want to give my work to other dancers and to audiences throughout. And I want my work to stay here and continue to grow, and I want to be able to go to heaven or wherever I'll go, but my work will be here somewhere, somehow. And I want to leave something for this life. I have this young spirit inside of me. And I'm not saying that if you're not a dancer, you don't have young spirit. But what I am saying is if you are a dancer, if you are an artist, any art form, dance, music, any art form, there's something inside of you that I really find makes you different from other people. I just see this like a little halo over your head, because I find artists in general to be special people in this world. And we're really I think we really influence the world a lot, more than people credit us.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the Artists Forum. We hope you've enjoyed our segment on modern dance. For more information, feel free to visit our website at www.theartistsforum.org. For the Artists Forum, I'm Scottie Gage. Good night.